Introducing the Open Palm Podcast, hosted by Jerome Shaw. Available today on your favorite podcasting platforms, including Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Anchor.fm, and many more. The Open Palm Podcast, where the host engages his listeners with inspirational messages, motivating themes, and thought-provoking ideas. Topics include: make more mistakes, how much is your value, don't get right, get going, learning to let go, excellence is a habit, and more. Binge listen today. Subscribe today. It's getting excellent ratings. That's the Open Palm Podcast, hosted by Jerome Shaw. You can also find it on YouTube. Make sure you share it with your social networks and connect on Twitter and Instagram at Jerome Shaw. That's the Open Palm Podcast with Jerome Shaw. Available today on your favorite podcasting platforms. Go listen, download, and subscribe now.
Ladies and gentlemen, I would love to introduce to you Mr. Brian Lee.
Hello, everybody.
Brother, thank you for joining the podcast.
It's no problem. Thank you for having me, man. I tell you all the time, I appreciate what you're doing and your energy, and thanks for inviting me into that space. I appreciate it.
Of course.
Shout out to the Open Palm. My name is Brian Lee. Like Jerome just told you, and I'm a multidimensional being who specializes in music. With my time here on this earth, I attended the Berklee College of Music in Boston, Massachusetts. And what else? Oh yeah, I was born in Camden, New Jersey, small little city on the East Coast. And yeah, currently right now I'm residing in Los Angeles, and I'm working on I just started a new e-commerce store where I'm going to be selling some merchandise that's involved with my music. So I'm excited about that. And yeah, that's it pretty much, yeah.
Now, we've had conversations in the past ranging from all sorts of different topics, and I would love to have you touch on just a few of them for the people. But one of them was how you told me that the detail is our intuition, and about the coded information that we forgot. Do you remember about that?
Yes, I do. For example, like our conscious mind, that mind alone wouldn't be able to process so much information. For example, like me holding my cell phone while I'm talking to you and doing this podcast. So I personally believe that we need a subconscious as well. And so the reason for me saying that is that I'm basically saying that the more detailed you are, the more you plan and strategize, you're getting in touch with the blueprint inside of your subconscious. I personally believe that with our lives, we have blueprints laid out already. I definitely believe in parallel universes. So, so for me, it's not a matter of grasping new information. It's, even new, that's such a subjective thing. Like what I consider new and learning new things is you're remembering the plan. You're tapping back into the plan. So that's why, if we want to talk about the law of attraction or, trying to think and manifest what you want to be very detailed, because your subconscious doesn't, if you say, well, I want money, mm-hmm. And this is what kills me, Jerome, and some people might get upset because they'll manifest 5 cents. And then they'll say, well, I didn't get what I wanted. You didn't explain it in detail. You didn't plan in detail. You have to say, and you have to think and strategize. Oh, I want $1 million. You can't just say I want money. You have to be detailed.
Okay. So the blueprint, that plan is in the details.
Exactly. The problem is a lot of people, they don't take action. It's not that they're not capable of it. It's the fact that they don't really know where their self doesn't really know where to go. It's like, if you say random stuff like, oh, well, I want more money, I want more love. But you get what I'm saying? That's so vague. It's like, for yourself. And that's why some people, they'll listen to speakers and they'll listen to all this information, and you notice they don't really take action because, to be honest, I'll tell you, like a lot of the teachings out there are really cool. I feel like, there's some great teachers out here that are meant to excite you and make you feel good. But a lot of times, like the LOA teachings, they don't really tell you how, there's not a next step in it. Like they'll tell you, oh, think about money, you'll get more. But they don't tell you how to, plan out, your finances.
Right.
They don't tell you what techniques. They don't tell you, okay, you need to go to workshops and meet investors, or maybe you should think about getting into real estate. They don't speak the actual techniques to making that happen. So I can understand if a lot of people listen to this stuff, they feel good for a week, and then they toss it to the side and say, oh, that doesn't work for me. So
Okay.
that's why, everything goes hand in hand. Like, it's detail. It's just going back to detail,
So a lot of the stuff that we get from the LOA or Law of Attraction community is more metaphysical and less practical use.
Yeah, I think it's cool to inspire you. I think it's supposed to give you that spark. Like it's a good training wheels, I call it. Really, really good. Like, I do it to this day, Jerome. Like, I'll put on someone who's just speaking with passion, and it makes me feel good, But you have to do something with that feeling, though. You have to channel that feeling into something tangible, though.
Right. Man, that is so pointed. I do agree with you, brother, because, one of my good friends taught me that those 6 letters, half of the word attraction is action.
Ooh, I like
So
that. Yeah.
in order to attract what we want, we must take action.
According to me, in my world, I feel as though we all have a blueprint, right? So I feel like we're all engaging with each other. Like the world's a stage. I believe Shakespeare mentioned that. And one of his plays or one of his actors mentioned that. But yeah, so what I mean is that, I feel as though we created these plans for ourselves and we just forgot. We're just in amnesia. I think it's part of the agreement of just having this experience, in this life. It's part of the challenge, and if you ever seen Denzel Washington, man, he gets so into his role that it's almost like you forget it's Denzel. It's literally Malcolm X,
Yeah, he transforms. Yeah.
And I think that was with us. I think that we dived so deep into our roles that we forgot who we were. We dived so deep into, me being Brian Phillips and I'm black and I have this job and whatever, We believed it. We and you know what we did is that we made an agreement with each other, and I said, Jerome, I need you to help reinforce that actor version of me so I can believe it's actually real. So your parents tell you something, society is trying to tell you something, because they're trying to basically, they exist to help that role. And I'll say another word for role could be ego.
Okay.
They exist to help that role stay alive, basically. And a lot of people, they're addressing your role, and deep down they don't mean harm.
Right.
But like for example, like what you told me, Jerome, when you told me the other day when we were speaking, how you were fasting and you had some people that were close to you who doubted you and were worrying for you, because their job is to make sure your actor role stays alive.
Okay.
So that's why they respond that way. That's why society does that. Whenever someone's stepping out and being different, everyone's like, wait, what's going on? Because it's a certain role that, that we took on.
Right.
And it's striking memory inside of people. And they're like, oh, well, Brian Phillips is supposed to be this and Jerome is supposed to be this. And then when you start stepping into your multidimensional self, it's like they can't comprehend it.
I see.
Basically, as a kid, there's proof for this, that from the age of 0 to 6, you're just soaking up a bunch of information. That's it. You're just recycling that.
Right. We're a sponge. Yeah.
Exactly. So that's what I really meant by we're rehearsing statements that we heard from other people. We're just, just like you said, being a sponge and just, soaking up all that information from before,
Okay.
So.
But I do love what you say about how we forgot, and how we're constantly in this remembrance state. remembering these things all the time. I just love that idea of, you know, instead of just discovering or instead of learning, we're actually remembering, you know. I love that.
Ex- exactly, because the problem with our life is that there isn't really a problem, and that's what people need to understand. It's
Ooh.
the fact that we think there's a problem, and so we overconsume. Like and even it's crazy because it's going to sound weird, but even the overconsuming is all part of the plan. That's the wild part of it, is because all right, you got to understand it's a dualistic universe, right? So, and let's go back to the actor role, right? And we're talking about a movie, right? So in a movie, you need an enemy. In a movie, you need the hero, you need the enemy, you need the scenario where you think everything's going bad,
Mm,
and you need the rescue. So, for us, you know, um, that's the tension and release. Even with music, I'm a musician, and music is all about tension and release, right?
yeah.
Life is all about tension and release. So like we may sit back in our little spiritual bubbles and be like, oh, look at us, and we say, oh, the world is over consuming, they think too much, right?
Yeah.
But see, we're just the release. We're seeing it from the release end of it, and that's it. Other people are just their intention right now, you see. But you know what, Jerome? It doesn't matter how much tension you have, Jerome. Tension must always release.
Mm,
That's sinking.
yeah. You remind me of a quote that I heard. It's like, life is really simple, but people are complicated, you know?
Yes, that is true, my friend. Think about it. The end, I tell everybody this is why I believe everyone's a Buddha, right? Because you can watch your body and you can become enlightened. The in and out breath, right? Life and death. Breathe in and you breathe out. Exhaling is death. Inhaling is life.
Man.
We have all these secrets around us. It's not even secrets. They're so in the open. What does that go back to? What me and you were just talking about, tension and release.
Right.
You see, life and death is tension and release.
Right. Man, brother. And then when you talk about these secrets that are out in the open, I love thinking about things like that as well, because it just reminds me that oftentimes the best place to hide the truth is in plain sight, because
Yes, sir.
no one would think to look for it if it's right in front of their eyes.
Exactly. Yes, sir. It's beautiful. I say it's all coded, and the code is so easy to understand that it's complicated.
Wow. What would be one of the best ways that you would tell somebody to be able to start to see that code in their lives?
Mm-hmm. The first thing I always tell them to do is it's quite simple, is to appreciate everything you encounter and try to stay in the experience without judging it.
Mm-hmm.
Even if someone comes and they give you a piece of cake and it's your favorite cake, this time I want you, the listeners, I want you to eat that cake, but take all your judgment off of it, and then you will experience insight once you're able to do that in every moment.
Okay.
Do not judge none of your experiences. Don't cling to the positive or what you perceive to be positive. So that's a whole nother topic right there.
Right. So don't cling to the perception. Okay.
Ooh, yes. Yeah. Wow. Thanks for saying that. Yeah, that was perfect how you said that. Yes. Don't cling to the perception of the experience. Apparently, the founder of Zen discovered enlightenment by just looking at the lotus flower. And the Buddha said, yeah, he's awakened. Because apparently how he did it was, it's what I'm saying, is that he just experienced the flower for what it was without all the judgments, and he wasn't thinking beautiful flower, he just experienced it. And it's like what you were telling me with fasting, Jerome. That's just something you're going to have to do for your own. I can't speak it. I can't tell you. That's something I'm like the finger pointing to the moon, like you have to just have these experiences and just don't judge them, and you'll see through your direct experience versus Brian talking about
right.
it,
Right.
I was moving some money around, and I was a little short on some money. I was taking care of bills and everything. And man, I was down to my last couple of dollars. So I was like, man, I was thinking like, man, my cell phone, I might have to, be without a cell phone for a few days. And but you know what? I decided that there was some work where I could make a couple of dollars, but it wasn't enough for what I needed, right? So I just took the action. I took the action towards that, and I wasn't worried. And it's crazy, Jerome, when I decided and I said, you know what, this isn't the amount I need, but it gets me closer, right? Once I stepped outside, this is how the day started. I found $2 on the ground. So I was like, cool. I knew I was flowing. And then actually when I went and I arrived at this place, I found out I won a gift card for the exact amount I needed for my cell phone. But what I'm trying to get at is that I didn't freeze and say, I wasn't stuck in the mind of, oh, well, I don't have enough for what I need. And I just dwelt on that, right? I said, hey, I need to take action right now.
Right.
And I took, and this is the secret to everybody, right? Is act on your highest excitement in the present moment.
Okay.
That's your key. So what happens is that, let's say there's a goal or something you need, right? You need to act on whatever, all your options. You need to act on the option that can bring you the closest to that. The reason why I technically didn't want to go, to do that work I needed to do that day. But what excited me? What excited me was that I was getting one step closer to that goal I needed for my cell phone.
Right.
So, because there's a difference between moving on fear and moving on excitement. And it wasn't that. It was the fact that I was excited that I was getting closer to my goal. The reason why action is so important is because we're going back to an earlier thing about detail is our intuition. And the thing is, this is especially important for people struggling right now, like struggling with finances or, or anything like that.
Yeah.
Is that your subconscious is programmed into lack right now. So your subconscious. So what happens is for you have to take action because you have to show like your subconscious that, hey, I really want this dream job, or I really want to be this great actor, or I want to be this spiritual teacher. So part of you taking that action is you breaking that pattern, that set belief that your subconscious created.
Yeah. So
if you're someone who wants to be abundant, and let's say money has always been a problem for you. So, and let's say you're like, well, I want $2 million, right? So the best action for you is to just take some action where you're seeing some type of cash flow coming. Don't worry about it being like, oh, it's this job I can't stand. No, you have to see it as this, right? So once you take this job or this action, right, now you're telling yourself, hey, I'm serious about having money flow into my life. And then what's going to start to happen is other opportunities are going to open up. You may be heading to your job. Exactly. It's a process to this. So you may be heading to this job that's not particularly your dream job, right? But you're going there because you're feeling the emotion of excitement. Like, yeah, this is stability though. I'm going to be able to afford this book on real estate or this book on meditation. So watch this. So this is how it starts off, Jerome. So you go to this job that you particularly don't want to see yourself at in 2 years or a year, right? So you're going there and let's say you receive your first pay. Then what happens is, now that you have cash flow coming in, you don't have to beg your parents no more, right? Now, you're able to attend a seminar, right? And then you went to the seminar, you meet Matt. And then you suddenly realize that Matt is in the same field you're in. And Matt is saying, hey, Brian, I want to help you out real quick. But you see, that's the universe right there. You took the first step, though.
Yeah.
If you sit back and you feel privileged, like, look at me, I'm Brian Phillips. I meditate all day and I have all this spiritual knowledge and everything should fall on my... No. You know what? I said this before, Jerome. You know, it's a quote, an old Buddhist quote. You chop wood before enlightenment and you chop wood after enlightenment. I keep telling people. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying you got to work at 9 to 5 or work hard for the rest of your life. No, I'm saying it's getting the ball rolling because you have to reprogram that lack
right
in your subconscious. You know, you have to reprogram that first. So that's going to take a little bit of work. But then then that's when you hear the stories of how people go outside and they're manifesting whatever they want to is because it's a difference. Their program is different. Their program is attuned to abundance.
Right.
So if you were someone who was around parents who told you can't never have it without struggling, you have to reprogram that now, you know?
Hanging with the Burmese monks has taught me that there are people in places that wish that they could do good, or that wish that they could do good deeds. And I think it was somebody who asked Mother Teresa, I have nothing. Like, what can I do to give to the world? Like, what can I give when there's nothing? I have nothing of value. And she told her, smile. Your smile. Like, start with that.
Ooh.
Just start with.
Man, you let that marinate for a second right there. Whoa.
It's like, start with that one good deed, like just one small thing that you can do. And, the more good deeds that you do, the more good deeds you can do. The more things you do, the more you can do. So it's just, man.
But you know what? That was such a powerful thing you just mentioned with Mother Teresa in that statement. Because when you think about it, that's just so interesting. Like, just that person who's just like, well, I don't have any money or anything. What can I do? And she's like, smile. And it's like, man, that was just so powerful because, people see, this is one thing as a musician. I was lucky enough to be able to, like, I'm able to see how simple things are actually complex and they're both the same thing. And that's the problem. Like, a lot of people divide things. So that's why that person who didn't have money felt like they didn't have any worth. But they're not seeing that, like, it's the same thing. Like, just a smile. Like, okay, if you're someone who's smiling, you're just putting out this positive energy. You're walking into areas and locations and people are feeling good. You're out here,
Right.
You're de-stressing the world. Like, God darn, that's like a Buddha. For sure, like, geez, that's enough right there. That could literally, man, I swear, that could literally be your whole life mission is like, hey, I'm just here like smiling and helping other people smile. My goodness, that's like, boom. That's a life mission right there. Like, you've done it. That's like, I mean, seriously.
I like how you kind of were stating that the more you do, the more you can do. It opens you up.
Exactly. Yes,
What were you about to say?
No. I'm sitting here because you just be completing the statements perfectly, man. Yes, you said it, man. No, you said it better than I could. That literally summed it up, bro. Like, I'm sorry. Sometimes I gotta just step back and I'll get excited. Like, wow, he literally said yep. Perfect. Exactly.
But I mean, it's like you told me before, man. Well, I used to get so many of those aha moments talking with you because you would say the thing that nobody else would tell me, but is universally true. You would be like, yo, I got that from you. You say all this stuff that I'm saying, Jerome, I got from you. And at first I didn't understand, but when you broke it down to me, it was just a phenomenal, realization for me to understand that we really are all connected. And, the only reason I can say what I can say is if you permit it,
Exactly, man. It's going back to what we were talking about earlier about how we're all actors and it's like you, Jerome, it's like we all know each other's scripts. We all know each other's roles, and you're sitting in there like, I remember Brian, I remember this part. I got you. Yep, that's right. And you just reminded me because I froze. We can freeze for a second sometimes. You reminded me. You're like, hey, Brian, yeah, this the lines right here, and I was like, that's how it felt to me. No, yeah, that's literally how it felt to me. I was like, oh, right. I was like, right, So, man, it's wild.
Man, brother.
So think about it, right? You meditate and just think about that. So when we're sitting, we're focused on the moment, right? So what is in the moment? That's up to you. It's really up to you what you want to be in the moment, but you want to focus on that thing though. Like right now, me and you are meditating. We are on a podcast and this is divine meditation right now. And we are focused. We're not sitting here talking about, oh man, look what happened. Look what's going on down the street. No, if you notice right now, Jerome, This whole time during this podcast, you essentially forgot that you exist right now.
Ooh.
I just made you remember now because I just brought it up. Like, you forgot. You're so into it right now. Your mind is calm. You're so into it. You're outside yourself. You can tell how me and you are dialoguing how we're talking right now. You're outside your ego. You're outside yourself right now. You know? So that same connection we're making, that's what people want to make when they're working on a specific task or whatever at hand. You want to make your whole life your meditation. When you're walking, I want you to lose yourself when you're walking. When you're talking to your spouse, don't think about what she did yesterday or what you think she's going to do. Be in that moment with her.
Right.
A guy or with a woman, if it's another guy or if you're two guys, it doesn't matter to me. Just be in that moment with your spouse. Be in that moment when you're writing. Write. Don't think about being better or perfect. Right. Just right. That's it.
Man, brother, thank you so much for thank you for sharing your love, your light, your energy on here on the podcast, and just really sharing from your experiences and just the wisdom that you've been able to acquire over the years, brother.
No, man, it's no problem, man. I'm always open to share my experiences like anytime, man. Thanks for inviting me. Like I said, it's beautiful what you're doing with Open Palm. And yeah, for my listeners out there, man, it's a blessing, man. Jerome's a blessing. Like, we're lucky to be in his presence. We're blessed. We're blessed. Yeah, seriously, bro. I mean, I'm serious about that, man. It's
Thank you.
Yeah, man. It's like what I told you, man. With social media, I'm not really so big on it as of late. And because I'm kind of tuning into my music and I'm really honing in on being conservative with my energy. I'm starting to be really careful where I put my energy towards. So,
same.
I told you, man, I only follow a couple of people on my social media. And you're one of them, man. Because every time I go through your stuff, man, you always make me feel good, man. Or
I'm glad.
Or you'll make me, want to sit down. Or I'm like, you know what? Maybe I should sit down and meditate for a bit. So, you always have something positive, and you're always just out here helping others. And it's coming from a genuine place. You feel me? My name on Spotify is No. That's capital N-O dot capital G. And you can find me on Spotify, iTunes, what else? Deezer, pretty much all the major platforms. Tidal. You can check me out, No.G on Spotify. And on SoundCloud, if you Google a song called Red Wine, and then you put Brian Phillips afterwards, you can find some of my older music. So if you want, I only got about 3 songs on Spotify. So if you're like, oh man, I want some more of his music, then I have a lot more music on my SoundCloud. So
got you. Awesome, brother. We'll have to include that in the show notes so the folks can find that.
Yeah. Thank you once again. Thank you. Shout out to Open Palm for having me. Just keep going, brother. Keep going. Don't lose sight. And can I just say one last thing too for the listeners?
Of course.
To anyone that's listened to this podcast, I do want you to know that no matter what you're experiencing right now, this too shall pass. So just know that your abilities are infinite, and don't ever forget that. No matter what's happening, always remember that. If you have to come back to this podcast or listen to Jerome, listen to Open Palm, then do that. But don't get down. You keep going. You're awesome. You're amazing. Thank you for existing. And that's it.